Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. It is time to talk about my November TBR. I'm very excited for November because I try every year to participate in Nonfiction November by reading at least one, usually try for 2 or 3 nonfiction reads. So I do have a few options there to choose from. And then this year it's also Historathon, which my friends Amanda, Lindsay, and Gloria are hosting. I will leave their channels down below because this year they're doing it a little bit different where each of them has chosen prompts and you choose one prompt from each host, which I think is really fun. I am not choosing my books for the prompts right now because I'm also participating in my own little readathon called NetGalley November. I am hoping in November to increase my NetGalley read feedback ratio quite a bit. I am starting the month at, I believe, 41 or 42%. I would like it to get much closer to 50 by the end of the month. But none of the books I'm actually going to talk about today are on my NetGalley. I'm going to do a whole separate video where I will highlight all of the NetGalley books that I have already on my shelf, including the ones that I own physically now because they are no longer early releases. They're out in the world for everybody to read. So I will go through that in a whole separate video showing all of the NetGalley books, and in particular ones that will fit prompts for Historathon. So today we're just going to talk about the other books that are on my radar and that I'm planning on reading in November, and then you can stay tuned for that further November TBR NetGalley type of video coming soon. So first off, I have 2 book clubs that I participate in and actually help to lead at just different times. But the first is Middle Grade March Book Club. This is our first year of doing the Middle Grade March Book Club, and it has been so much fun. We've read so many fantastic books, and many of you have joined in. Thank you so much. So for November, we did choose a nonfiction middle grade book called Free Lunch by Rex Ogle. Amanda picked this one, and she's the only one of us who has read it before, and she said it's heavy hitting and it's going to make you think. But it's a short little book. It's just under 200 pages. So this is going to be a memoir of Rex's time in 6th grade as he goes to a school in a wealthier school district and is on the free lunch program and how he navigates that as a young 12-year-old, usually 6th grade. So I think this is going to be a fantastic read and would love for you to join in the Middle Grade March Book Club if you're interested. The other book club that I host is on my Patreon, and we also are going to be reading a nonfiction this month, and that is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I know so many people have already read this. I haven't. So I gave them a poll, included this one, and this is the one that got chosen. So this is just a book about habits and building habits and an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. I've heard that it's a quick-ish, like it's an easy read. You go through it pretty quickly, but has a lot of practical advice and things that you can take away right away and start implementing. I feel like this is a great book to read in November as the new year is coming, and usually I start thinking about goals and changes that I want to make in the new year. I think this might be a really helpful read. So if you're interested in reading Atomic Habits, consider becoming a patron. The link is always down in the description. You can check it out down there. There are multiple different levels. Every level participates in the book club if they want to. So that is for my Patreon book club. And speaking of Patreon, every month I give some of my members a chance to recommend a book for me. This month, I kind of worked the system a little bit because the one who chose this book couldn't be there, but the book she chose by this author I had already read. So I just picked another book by the same author and put it in the cup for her. And it's on my NetGalley, and it's historical fiction. So it works for Historathon, and it's Only the Beautiful by Susan Meissner. I'm really excited. I've been wanting to read this for quite a long time. It takes place in California in 1938, as well as Europe in 1947. So like towards the end of the war. I've talked about this quite a few times. We follow Roseanne, who's 16, and she has synesthesia, which is the ability to see colors or hear music. I forget what her version of it is. Sees colors when she hears sound. And her mom has always told her to keep that part of her hidden, but then both of her parents had died, and she's taken in by the owners of the vineyard where her mom worked. But then she gets into trouble in her teenage years and gets pregnant out of wedlock, and the vineyard owners are very upset about this and send her to this home for unwed mothers that ends up being more like an asylum. And then in the more World War II storyline, the vineyard owner's daughter, who was over there, I don't know, as a journalist or something in Austria, she saw some of the horrors firsthand of the Nazi Party and how they treated people. And in particular, anybody who was different, and like Jewish people, obviously, but also anybody who had any kind of neurodivergence, they were definitely not treated well by the Nazi Party. So she comes home, finds out what happened to this girl, and is very upset. And I don't know where the story goes from there, but I've heard that it's very good. I really trust Susan Meisner to write a good story. So I'm very excited to read Only the Beautiful in November. The only other Historathon book that I know for sure I'm going to read is their group read, which is Crow Mary by Kathleen Grissom. I will probably end up purchasing this before the month is over, but I have it checked out from the library right now. I first heard about this during the BookTube Besties virtual retreat that just most recently happened in the summer. And someone brought this as their recommendation. But I've read The Kitchen House and Glory Over Everything by Kathleen Grissom and really loved both of them. This one takes place in Montana in the summer of 1872. Crow Mary marries Abe Farwell, a white fur trader, and accompanies him to his trading post in the Cypress Hills of Saskatchewan, Canada. In the spring of 1873, they're preparing to return to Montana when they witness the Cypress Hills massacre, in which 40 innocent Nakota are killed by a drunken gang. Following the massacre, Crow Mary single-handedly rescues 5 Nakota women who are being held captive and abused by the gang. Thus, she sets off a whirlwind of colliding cultures that brings out the worst and the best in the cast of unforgettable characters and pushes the love between Farwell and Crow Mary to the breaking point. This is inspired by the real life of Crow Mary and endorsed by her great-granddaughter, Crow elders, and Crow scholars. This is an epic love story that sweeps across decades, showcases the beauty of the natural world, and probes the intimacies of marriage and one woman's heart. I think this sounds fantastic. I'm very excited to read this story. So if that one sounds interesting to you as well, maybe consider participating in Historathon. There will be a live discussion of that book of Crow Mary at the end of November. I have a small pile of nonfiction. I mean, I have a whole shelf over here of nonfiction that I will be going through at some point in the month of November, but I just pulled out a few that kind of jumped out to me, and we'll see if I get to these ones or if I pick up something different. I mean, I already have 2 on my pile, Atomic Habits and Free Lunch. So that alone means I win Nonfiction November, because that's more than normal, 2 in a month. But one of the other options I had given my patrons was Devotions by Mary Oliver. This is a collection of poetry selected from different works of her poetry throughout the years. So I think there are 12 different, or I don't know how many different collections, but so for example, From West Wind, here's a selection from that book. From White Pine, there's from there. So it has a bunch of different poems from her different work, and it starts with the more recent Felicity in 2015 and goes all the way back to earlier days of poetry writing. So it's just a collection of poems throughout the years from Mary Oliver. I've heard wonderful things about this. I have read some Mary Oliver poetry before and would love to read more. So I'm very excited to check this one out. I have 2 kind of more on the graphic side of things. First of all, I have Book Love by Debbie Tung. I have heard this is just lovely book for book lovers. It's a little graphic nonfiction, cute illustrations about being a reader and loving books. So that should be really fun. This one is very different. The Best We Could Do by Tai Bui. And this is a graphic memoir of a family who comes from Vietnam, I believe. Graphic novel memoir by Tai Bui, an intimate look at one family's journey from their war-torn home in Vietnam to their new lives in America. Going to talk about immigration, displacement, trying to adjust to life in America, this family, like the strength of this family. And I just think that this is going to be a heavy hitter, but also very interesting. So I'm looking forward to that. And the final short little one that I grabbed was Into the Wild by John Krakauer. I I would like to read another book by him. It may be this one. I have the Everest one, I believe, on Into Thin Air on my shelves. I really liked Under the Banner of Heaven by him. I really enjoyed his writing and the way that he broke down his research and everything. And so I would like to read another nonfiction by Jon Krakauer. This was just the shortest, so I threw it into the pile. We'll see. This one is Alaska. In April 1992, a young man from a well-to-do family hitchhiked to Alaska, walked alone into the wilderness north of Mount McKinley. I've heard some mixed things about this one, but we'll see if I get to it or not. And then before I close things out, I do have my 2 spinner wheels. Sadly, this is going to be the last month that I spin the wheels because there will be only one choice left for December. So my first wheel is going to determine which booktuber I'm going to read like for the month of November. And I already know I'm going to read like Gloria because I have Gloria Z. Thompson left and Amy from Amy's Bookish Life. And Gloria definitely reads more nonfiction than Amy. I do have 2 books already picked out for both of these ladies. I'm just going to see if the wheel does me good like it did last month when I knew I wanted to read like Audrey in October, and that's what the wheel picked. We're going to see if the wheel picks Gloria because that's who I'm going to pick already. If the wheel picks Amy, sorry, Amy, I'm just going to save you for December, but let's just see what the wheel says because it's fun to spin the wheels. Oh, it did it wrong. It picked Amy, but I'm reading like Gloria, so that is pointless. I probably shouldn't have done that, but I was just curious. But we are going to switch over to my other wheel. The one final wheel that I have will determine which of these 2 books I read. I did at the beginning of the year chose 12 books, and each month I've been picking one from the wheel, and I've been doing so good with this project, reading each one in the month that I pick it. I've been so proud of myself. So I have 2 left, The Room on Rue Amelie and Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. This one feels more contemporary. This one is historical. It could fit into a Historathon prompt. I'm really hoping for The Room on Rue Amelie, but I'm not sure I want to read this in December either. Honestly, if I find that I have room at the end of the month, I may just read whatever one doesn't get picked because I don't know that I want to read either one in December. But let's see what the wheel picks. I just repeated the choices 2 times each. Or 6 times each to see what we're going to get. Just so there's more options on the wheel. Let's see what it's going to say for this one. Room on Rue Amelie. Yes. It did it right. Okay. It did choose The Room on Rue Amelie by Kristen Harmel. I have quite a few books by her stacking up on my shelves. I've read a few and have liked most of them. We'll see about this one. This one is a World War II historical fiction set in Paris, 1939. We're going to follow Ruby, who's dreaming of walking arm in arm with her husband along the grand boulevards awash in the golden afternoon light, but war is looming on the horizon, and as France falls to the Nazis, her marriage begins to splinter too. Her neighbor, 11-year-old Charlotte, tries to remain hopeful even as the occupation threatens to tear her Jewish family apart, and when a mission gone wrong lands British pilot Thomas Clark in enemy territory, he discovers a new reason to keep fighting and an unexpected road home. Together, Ruby, Charlotte, and Thomas must summon the courage to defy the Nazis and to open their own broken hearts as they fight to survive. I have heard good things about this one. It does say the smallest acts of courage are the ones that change the world. So we'll see. I'm adding this to my pile. So these are the definites. My Patreon book club book, my middle grade March book club book, some the Historathon group read, my patron pick, and then my spinner wheel choice. So those are the 5 that I will absolutely read in November. Then again, I have this little pile of nonfiction on my horizon. I have books picked out already for Gloria, and I will talk to her about another book. It will probably be a nonfiction because none of the ones that I have chosen are nonfiction. And then stay tuned soon for another video talking about all my NetGalley books and what are some of the possibilities of those that could fit into Historathon prompts. That is some of my reading plans for November. I would love to chat with you down below. Have you read any of these? Are any of these on your radar? Are you participating in Nonfiction November or Historathon? I would love to chat about that as well. Let's talk in the comments. I always love talking to you down there, and I look forward to talking with you in another video very soon. Bye.